and welcome to Twin Flames Between Worlds podcast. My name is Tabitha.
And I'm Liesl.
Hi, and we have an extra special episode today. I am so excited. We'll totally go into the story about, how this happened, how this occurred. But before we get into that, we just want to remind everyone, explicit mini episode, fun mini interview episode.
One that you didn't see coming.
One definitely the fans did not see coming. This is special for the fans.
Very special.
Our sponsor for this week is Torain, and they create bold, eco-friendly bags from upcycled feed bags and recycled plastic bottles. These durable and stylish products are perfect for travel and outdoor adventures. Enjoy our exclusive discount for 15% off any products with our promo code TFBW Podcast. Twin Flames Between Worlds Podcast shortened. And stay at the end for some more fun facts about the sponsor.
Yes.
But without further ado, we have an extra special guest today. One that I met whilst driving in LA in an Uber, which we'll probably do a little bit more. But we have Haley Grace McCormick, author and book talker, obviously on Instagram and everything, here with us today.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here. I'm so excited. I'm sure I'm going to mess up 100 times and you're going to be like, wow, this girl does not know how to speak. But we did already say I'm dyslexic. I put the warning in there, I'd like to say.
I mean, that's fair. I was like, I see your TikTok videos and I saw your recent one about the TV boyfriends.
Yes.
And first of all, I was like, yes to everything. And then I was like, I know probably how many takes that video took.
Too many, genuinely. I will never admit. I think I will. I'll tell you, it was actually 12 different takes for that one because I kept laughing when I was talking about JJ Maybank. Way too many. Oof, it was a lot.
I see the work that's put into it, so I understand.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, go ahead. Introduce yourself to our audience.
Okay. Well, my name is Haley Grace McCormick. I'm a dyslexic author. I wrote an adult romance book called The Enemy of Time. It's under Rising Action Publishing, which is printed by Simon & Schuster. I'm also a book talker. I do movie reviews, TV show reviews. I tell you guys way too much stuff about my personal life that nobody wants to know, but I tell you anyway. I like to talk about hot men a lot. I'm sure you guys know now. I had a series called Men Who Aged Like Fine Wine, and that kind of sums me up.
What an amazing
that's amazing.
Honestly, because I knew of a couple of friends who did follow you when I figured out who you were in the car, and I was like, oh, I've seen your videos before. And I was like, honestly, everything you said hit me really hard. I was like, my fans know way too much about my personal life.
We go off on too many tangents in our episodes.
It's the best though, but I think the best things come out of your mouth when your brain is turned off, or at least that's what I like to tell myself for my own mental sanity. So everyone gets to know everything.
That's real though.
Yeah, for sure. So just want to tell the audience before we got into something about our audience. I want to what I love talking about is just how every moment in fate and it's all special. This moment right here feels like a dream to me. I professional drive now. My fans know this. I got a new job and before I was struggling. I thought I was, I'm out here in LA, but I'm not doing anything. And then all of a sudden this job comes about and just one weekend I'm driving around LAX and I pick Haley and her wonderful mother up at the airport. At their hotel near the airport. And we just bring them up to Hollywood. So if you guys know, it's probably 50 minutes or something like that.
Thanks to traffic.
Yeah, you experiencing the traffic in LA was probably...
You got the real experience there.
That was a shock. I'm from South Carolina. I was complaining a week ago that we had 5 minutes of traffic. I will never complain again, ever.
That's so fair. My dad makes fun of me all the time for that, specifically, how much it takes. But we just had a wonderful conversation, even first at, starting to talk about personal things and just, because I love to talk. So, and especially having two people that love to talk as well. And then figured out, hey, I'm into voice acting. Hey, you're an author. Oh, wait, you do the book talk thing too?
It's like Spider-Man pointing name of you?
Yeah. So it's and then we were at this wonderful moment. And so I just wanted to tell the audience that, you meet people for reasons and you never know where those things will lead. So it's I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. And it was such an interesting day too when we met, because we had all that drama at 2 a.m. Me and my mom, like, we got into the car with you and we're like, we spilled everything. Like, what you should not do with a stranger, we did in like 5 minutes. And if you meet my mother, you'll understand why. Like, she's the most natural person with anyone in the room. So she just starts telling me everything that's going on. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we're overloading this poor girl. Like, she's gonna like stop in the middle of the road and kick us out any second. But it did. It all came, full circle. And it's been such a joy to get to know you. I'm sure you're regretting it because me and my mother have texted you how many times now?
Honestly, I love it. I'm not gonna like, it makes, I don't know, it made me feel that like my experience or just me talking, like, I don't know, made it special. I mean, that's why I also like doing this. It's like all that combined. It's like, oh, you feel enough. Even though you guys were having a rough morning, it was like you feel safe enough to talk with someone. Because sometimes there's someone you don't want to talk to them about anything. So it made me feel special, and it made me feel like, oh, like I should be doing this. I got this. So
No, you do. You 100%. You just make people feel so comfortable.
Make me cry, girl.
I agree with that.
Messing around. But yeah, I agree with that. Okay, but let's get into the questions.
Okay.
So the interview questions. Okay, first question. So how did you get into the book talk world? How did that all start?
Oh, I wish I could give you like a really profound story and like something that was really cool. But I'm going to tell you about the time that I got super car sick. I was 19 years old, 18 or 19, just about. And I was in the car. I was driving from the time I lived in Florida, and we were driving up to South Carolina to visit some family friends of mine, my godparents. And I get horribly car sick. I mean, like, to the point of like where I'm crying in the back seat. I need like 10 bottles of Dramamine and nothing's working. And my friend, she knows me so well, and she knows that I'm dying in the car. And so she texts me and sends me this cute little video on TikTok that she knows is going to cheer me up. And it's a bunch of shirtless photos of Henry Cavill. I mean, like, a ton of photos of him.
Oh,
And that's what your best friend should do, is send you pictures of Henry Cavill when you're not feeling good. And it was medicine. And I remember being in the back seat and going, I need to make a video about Henry Cavill in my life right now. And I did. I made the very first video I ever made on TikTok, which was called Men Who Aged Like Fine Wine. It didn't have me in it at all. You can actually see, like, if you go back to the original video, you can see the outside of the car. I took a video of the trees passing our car, put it on, the words on it, and showed pictures of Henry Cavill from a teenager when he started acting all the way to now, obviously gorgeous Superman, The Witcher, all of that. And I passed out in the car just a couple minutes after posting it. I literally was so excited. I had taken so much Dramamine that I had passed out, and I woke up and I looked at my phone and it had 1 million views.
Wow.
And I didn't fully understand it. I saw 1M and I was like, is this the wrong measuring system? Like, And apparently it was correct. And I quickly said, I'm going to make a few more of these. And I kept duplicating them and having fun with it. And then from there, I started putting myself in the videos. And I decided that, I'll make funny ranting videos about when I'm watching, the Outer Banks first season at that time with my parents. And we were both like, to get an entire family to like a show was a big deal. And so like I decided to get on TikTok and start ranting about it, and ranting about my dad's opinions on my mom's opinions and how I thought mine were better. And, like just and that really just spiraled into me coming up with different video ideas and going into, I love doing the breaking news kind of things where, if Outer Banks is filming somewhere, I like to talk about it and bring that to everyone, because I hope that everyone is as excited to know about those things as I am. And if not, I'm so sorry. I'm going to post it. So just say scroll. But, like right now down in Charleston, a bunch of my friends are texting. They're like, they're filming. And I'm like, I got a video coming. But yes, I mean, that's kind of how it's spiraled, all from being sick in the car to doing TV shows, movies, books, and then obviously with my own books talking about, stories that were really passionate to me growing up, which, Mortal Instruments was a huge one. I was obsessed with that story. And I was obsessed with talking about the movie versus the show. So, I mean, story in general is all, whether it's, book or on TV or in a movie, it's story, and that's what I loved, getting to talk about books that had turned into film as well and going nuts on that. And that was my little tangent rabbit hole for you there.
No,
That's amazing.
That's so wonderful. Like, even if there isn't, I mean, to be fair, I think it's like the best when it is a random story. This isn't some thought out, so deep passion project of mine. I've been working up to it for years. It's like, no, I literally just made a video outside my car after getting sick or car sick. And it's just, I feel like that's like way more fun than.
That's like, honestly, like if you're just waiting in a line and you start talking to someone in front of the line, they could have the craziest story that just happened, but it's like you still just learn a story and then it sticks with you. And I love that. That's awesome.
I appreciate you guys making me feel better about that story right now.
Well, it's kind of like similar to our, because like, again, I didn't really talk too much about our podcast to you. It kind of is similar to, we're super, I wanted her to read ACOTAR. And then it got to a point where I was like, okay, let's do a book talk on it, weekly or whatever. It's just because I want to see her perspectives. I want to see her reactions. I want to see like what you thought versus what I thought. And then it was kind of like a drunken midnight conversation where it's like, hey, the podcasting thing, what if we did that?
And then we just kept going with the what if.
Yeah, what just if. Whatever,
And I was still in school when we started it, and she had already graduated. But we're just like, this could work. We could just do it like this.
I did some research and I was like, okay, hey, there's actual platforms to be able to do stuff on, or like, because we have like Libsyn, it's like a podcast platform that can put them on Apple, Spotify, Audible, blah, blah, blah. And it started out as like $5 a month. And I was like, hell, we could do that. I was like, sure. And then it's turned into here where now, I don't know, even though this is like your first book, the fact that we're talking to an author and someone who is also like in this space, like this blows my mind. I'm going to continue saying this. This is amazing.
I definitely, when we started, I had no idea that we would be doing any sort of interviews. Like, I thought we were just going to be like talking about the books and just going through the book step by step. And then all of a sudden, she reaches out to the voice actors of graphic audio and they're just like, oh yeah, sure, interview. Okay, that's an interview. Okay, we're bringing friends on, interview. Okay, we've got an author, interview. And it's like, where did this come from?
I love that though. That takes so much guts though to ask that, like, to like contact those kind of people. Like, I so much credit to you on that.
Yeah, it was, I think it's even more crazy the fact that we have relationships afterward. That my first ever interview with somebody, or well, our first interview with somebody like turned into, he's like my brother now and I PA for him and we're going to conventions. This is, I can't believe level. It's like, I knew that like, that I feel like you could feel this way when you have these opinions and you get so passionate. It's like, I know that I do these things well, but it's like, do people actually care like to listen to me say these things?
Completely understand that.
And then you see fans like actually interact. It's like, oh shit, people actually care about what I think about these things.
Well, you make them feel heard and seen because they're feeling it too, and so they're like, okay, I don't need to check myself in anywhere. You're correct. Like, this is good. Someone else is thinking the same thing.
And then it gets to the point where, like, for example, the fans will email us with, like, their thoughts and opinions, or, like, we get feedback on it. Or, like, for example, my mom listens to the podcast, and she texted me when she listened to it a couple episodes ago. She texted me, like, I really relate with what you said about this. And it's like, there we go. People are starting to relate to what we have, what we're sharing. And that's what we're going for. So
before I go on to my next question, I did want to say that I don't know if you felt this being from, because are you originally from South Carolina or are you originally from Florida?
So I've moved 15 times. So I'm kind of from nowhere, but I did live, I've been here for about 2 years. I lived in Florida for 1. I think the longest I ever lived somewhere was Tennessee, and that was about 4 years.
Okay. So, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of women in this country, just generally. I was going to say sometimes Midwest or South, like there's something about romance books, romance TV shows, and hot guys that there's like this stigma that like women don't like talking about sex or don't talking about handsome men or, about abs. And then
that's like all we talk about.
All day.
All day, every day. She'll send you said you were talking about like Henry Cavill, like we're in the BTS, so like we'll send each other hot K-pop shit all the time.
Usually a lot of it is shirtless.
100%. Girls have to do that for each other. Like it's part of the girlhood.
It's a
It
must. And so it's like, I feel like, especially with your content and with ours, when you said about being seen, is like, when I was growing up, women didn't talk about this stuff.
Mm-mm.
Moms
No.
didn't. And like, and my mom's like, which is why we like bonded over our moms too, because like, even your mom to a certain degree, like our moms wanted to talk about everything.
Mhm.
They're like, they wanted to be the open moms, like, okay, you can come to me about anything, even if it is something that's sex related.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, that my mom was the exact same way. She was, she got a lot of flack actually from other moms. Speaking of, of not talking about it, and back in the day, she got a lot of flack for being open with me and saying, it was actually over the movie Grease. She let she let me watch Grease really young, and I mean, she's gonna kill me for saying this, but I think I was 4. I saw Grease. She loved it. She loved that movie. And she knew I loved music. And she was like, she's not going to understand any of the other stuff, and so might as well enjoy the movie. I loved that movie. I went to preschool and elementary school talking about Grease, and the other mothers would give her so much flack for that. And I'm like, you know what? I grew up now going into like it being a romance writer, and there's a reason for it. Is because I never felt bad talking about it or laughing about it with my mom or with my grandma, over the years. And I had friends and stuff that would be like, we can't talk about that, like in the car with their parents. So they were like, shushing me, and I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't understand. I talk about Kevin Bacon in Footloose with my mother at 7 years old, that I was going to marry him and what my wedding dress was going to look like. I mean,
what? Why are moms the exact same person? My mom loves Grease, bro. Like, yeah, she'll defend that movie to her dying breath. You triggered something in me in a good way. My mom was so open about that when hold on, this. When I was 17, my mom was like, you're old enough. It was a rite of passage. You're old enough to read 50 Shades of Grey. So I would take that book into high school with me. Taking that into, because I didn't think it was taboo. I was like, oh, it's a sex romance book, whatever. People know it.
My mom gave me.
So I would take it out during like free period, take it out, and everyone would just. And I had a teacher come up to me and just be like, so, Tabitha, because I was such a good student. I was like, never did anything wrong. I was a valedictorian in my high school. Goody two shoes. But that was like the one thing they were like, so, it's a book. It's like, yeah, it's free period. I'm reading a book.
Isn't that good? I should be reading a book.
You might not want to bring that book to class. And then I was like having this conversation with them, like, why? That book has, I was like, but I'm reading it. It's not reading out loud.
On it, like, what?
And I think that man was so fucking uncomfortable that like, he's like, oh, you know what? Just read it. Never bothered me again.
Love that way.
But yeah, so, so then because again, you said a lot about TV and like book to movie adaptations. What's like your genre of book then that you like to, watch or listen to?
Oof, goodness. The TikTok trends where it's like I have 2 looks and that's it. That's kind of how I feel with books. Like I have exactly 2 moods with my books, and it's either going to be like fantasy, it can be adult fantasy, it can be YA fantasy, any fantasy, or I want adult romance. And there's nothing in between. I love romantasy. Like that's probably my in between, is anything with a good romantasy. And that's what I'm obsessed with, whether it's in books, TV shows, movies. That's my little world, and I'm sticking to it. I don't like to venture out, so I'm in my comfort zone.
I'm stuck in romantasy. I mean, I venture out every now and then for like a Bridgerton, a historic romance, but it's mostly fantasy romance and adult romance. I mean,
for me, I wasn't actually too much of a reader before getting into ACOTAR. I think that was because I struggled with sticking with the book. I struggled with like the motivation to read. I had actually really good reading level. Like in 6th grade, I did like the reading plus thing or whatever.
Oh.
And it was said that I had a 13th grade reading level. But it's like even
13th.
Yeah, freshman
in college.
In 6th grade, But it was like I didn't really read that much. I usually just read whatever people told me to read. So I didn't enjoy it that much. But I do remember when I started reading books on my own that I was one able to choose. It was all like Regency stuff. It was all royalty, and there were a couple dragons here and there. There were a couple of schemings to get into the palace, or like long lost princes and stuff like that. And like that's what I started with, and here I am. that guitar.
Of glass.
Almost through stained glass.
Okay, you're getting there.
Yeah. Actually, like a fun thing is that I started Throne of Glass. Actually, I started with Throne of Glass, not Assassin's Blade, but I started with Throne of Glass, and I read Crown of Midnight and started Queen of Shadows.
Air of Fire.
Sorry, Air of Fire. I always get those two up. And I got through those ones, but then I'm like, I don't get the point of this. I'm not motivated anymore. Yeah. And then she comes along and says A Court of Thorns and Roses. I'm like, I've never heard of that. And then she says it's by Sarah J. Maas, and I'm like, oh, I've heard of her.
And maybe you also have like these same things about movies and books, but like Sarah J. Maas's universe is so like, it's kind of like my home field advantage. Like I found it when I was a freshman in college, or about to be a freshman in college. I was like at my lowest point in terms of my self-identity and insecurities, like all that. And then I was reading these books about like girls who were facing like odds and, you know, against kingdoms and whatever. I was like, I think I can get up tomorrow. And specifically about her, how she does romance, being able to have, you know, meeting a friend while also like, I mean, there's so many romance genres, like the one book or the one bedroom trope, or like the enemies to lovers, or the
classic enemies to lovers,
or friends to enemies to lovers, like that shit. That's my wheelhouse. And so it's like, I feel like you need to read in a certain way. And so that's how I'm doing it for the podcast, because it's like such a metaverse sort of scenario. It's like the book equivalent of Marvel.
Yeah, that's very accurate.
Universe. And so like, that's interesting that we all, this is our genre and we're sticking to it. Like, I feel good about it.
It helps your serotonin. When you find a series in a genre that you like, there's something about it. Like, it does get you to want to read. It's a weird feeling that the school aspect to reading goes away. Do you know what I mean? That having to read goes away, and instead I get up and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get my coffee, I'm gonna get my book, everyone's asleep in my house, it's my little cozy time, I have a gigantic blanket that no one can see me under, like it's my happy moment.
Having a Harry Potter under the sheets moment of like just reading the book like a gremlin.
That's my happy place.
That sounds like a very happy place. So on that note about that being your happy place, what is the importance of reading and writing in your life?
Ooh, so I think my journey with reading and writing has been such a bumpy one, and it's been such a tumultuous one. From being a child, I don't think I really read a full book until high school, ever. And, you know, I was diagnosed with dyslexia, dyscalculia, dysgraphia, and ADHD in the 4th grade. Yeah, and I was actually being tested for it in the 3rd grade, but with how school systems work, it took until the 4th grade to be officially diagnosed. And so for me, you know, my mom was dyslexic. It comes from her side of the family. On her dad's side, you know, her sister had dyslexia. So it wasn't uncommon, and we didn't like not know it. You know, it was kind of like my parents had kind of prepared for it. And so my mom had always made sure that when it came to reading, it came to stories, even if I personally couldn't necessarily read, she made sure that the love of story was always there. So she forced my dad instead to read books out loud. We would sit in the living room, and I got to pick any book that I wanted. And of course, I never picked like the normal child's book. I would pick I wanted to read all the Harry Potters at like 4. I was like, let's do this. And so my dad did, and he sat in the living room and read out loud all the books, so I could close my eyes and I could imagine it, and I could get that love of storytelling in the only way at the time that my brain could process it. And that continued for many, many years, you know, as I went into school. When you're in public school, you know, kids aren't always the nicest. It's a hard time. And so what was once a love that I had, you know, before going into school that my mom had created, you know, with my dad through reading that way, kind of started to break down in school, because you're reading out loud. You know, you remember in school how they pass the book around and be like, you read this sentence, you read, oh my God, my nightmare. That thing was terrible. And, you know, that started, obviously, I think it's in 1st grade they start that. And, you know, I can remember freezing in the middle of class and paralyzed, not being able to say anything. And, you know, kids laughing around me and they think it's funny. And I can remember doing a play in class that they thought it was a fun idea to hand us a play real quick. And it was 3rd grade. And they said, get together with your group and learn your lines and then come back and perform it, you know? Well, I couldn't read it. I couldn't understand it. I didn't want to ask anyone as a young kid, you know, hey, could you help me out with this? And so I got up in the middle of the class, and it's my next line, and I'm shaking with the paper, trying to figure it out and trying to read it. And I read it so butchered, so we not together. That the girl I was partnered with in it, she yells at me in the middle of the class in front of me. Looking back, it's actually kind of funny. Like, she threw a full-on tantrum, like, over a play, like this little school play. She's like, she's banging on the chalkboard thing behind us. She was like, you've ruined it for me. This was my moment. And I was like, now looking back, I'm like, wow. But maybe she became an actress. I hope she did. Really channeled that.
I love how that's where you went, because I immediately went like the mean direction. I was like, this girl did not end up in Hollywood. But I'm glad that you said it in the nice way. At least we know who's nice on the call.
That's just how I want to look good on here. That's all. That was, my brain was not thinking that. But so for me, starting in the reading and journey of all of that came from a place of fear and terror with those experiences, specifically from my peers. And so you go quiet after a while. You learn that if you don't find yourself in those situations to read, and you don't find yourself in those moments, or you become the class clown, and if you do have to read, you make a joke, or you do something, or you become, kind of a nuisance in the class, it becomes funny, and you're no longer picked on for it, because it's not that you couldn't read. You didn't want to, so you start doing that more. And so I did that, most of my life. And I had a really close friend of mine who also had, dyslexia. And he was kind of my lifeline when I was young, because I got to talk with him and be like, oh, you feel this too. Like, this terrifies you too. And so I'm really grateful to him in my life for being that person that I could commiserate with and, sit with and feel comfortable with in life. And so because of him, I got more comfortable, just in my own skin. And then, life gets crazier. You get into high school. I moved a ton growing up. And so I bounced between school and school, which makes it even a little harder, if you're educationally. My mom decided when I think I was in 8th grade, to pull me out of regular public school because I had just bounced so many different times. And she was really worried that I wouldn't be able to keep up in high school. And so she put me into a different program, and it was a kind of at your own pace style high school. You had your textbooks and you had videos and everything, but it's kind of like online college, very similar, kind of like Southern New Hampshire University, where there's no like scheduled lectures. It's all in your own time. And it's really good. And I started doing that in high school, and I could do things that made sense to me. I could look up YouTube videos. I could watch. There's this hilarious guy who did math. This is such a rabbit hole, but there was this hilarious guy who did math on YouTube, and it's called Yay Math. And he taught me how to do math through a funny version. And things clicked differently. And so that's when I started getting into education at school more. And I had my own group of friends because my mom got me into what's called a co-op. And so it's 2 days a week. You go to this giant building with all these little rooms, and you have a ton of homeschoolers. I'm sure you can imagine our personalities all together. We were all, I would say the funniest way to describe our school is we had a theater program. We were all drama kids. We were all drama kids, and we thought we were the cool kids because that was our little school. Exactly.
Were you also like a bunch of introvert extroverts?
Yes. I mean, literally, like, terrible. Like, if we took us out into public, like, we wouldn't say a thing to anyone, but together, we were a nuisance to society. We were so loud, like, it was crazy. But you got to be very comfortable with people, and again, everything was at my own pace. I was going to go into fashion design before I was going to go into writing, and that's kind of where the importance of reading and writing really shifted in my life. Was my mother, as I have mentioned her already in the call, is a force of nature, and she decided that I had a really bad fear of speaking in public, and we didn't have like a speech class at our school. And so instead she was like, I'm going to sign you up for Shakespeare.
Nice.
Oh my God, sorry. As an actor, I'm like, wow, your mom's bold. That's amazing.
Sounds fun.
Yeah. I can remember when she gave me my list of classes, and I had asked for certain ones, and I'm going down my list, and I went, oh wait, no, this one, I think you accidentally added this one. I think you accidentally checked it. She was like, no, sweetie, this is happening. And
Icon.
Oh my gosh. And this was it was a junior year, and I was at the time I was dating my first boyfriend at the time. And I can remember being on the phone with him just yelling the whole, young girl stuff, like, I don't want to do it, take my place, sneak into class for me. And he's like 6'1". He's like, honey, I'm not sneaking in for you anywhere. Fine. And I remember coming into class, and I had two of my other friends in the class with me. One of them that it was kind of like we were in a group of friends, and we hadn't had as much time together, and that ended up being great because we came really close being in this class together. And the first day, the teacher wasn't in the room. And the first day, she comes bolting through, and she has like a jester's hat thing on, like the full thing's going on, and she's got these bags and bags of costumes and like just funny things. And I'm like, what has my mother done? Like, I don't know what's going on. And the whole class, the entire year was exactly like that. So every morning started the same. And it was hilarious because she would hand us, our, the entire Shakespeare play. We would get it to take, home with us. And we didn't have to memorize lines. She didn't care if you knew anything right. All she wanted you to do was to get up in front of the class with your scene partner and to read it. And to have fun with it and to act it. And, in my mind, oh my gosh, I'm reading out loud. I'm reading Shakespeare out loud. I'm going to die on the floor here. The ambulance is going to be coming any second. And I very quickly realized the great thing about doing a Shakespeare class when you're dyslexic, no one can read Shakespeare perfectly on the first round. So you don't look like anything's wrong. You look completely normal in the best way.
Yeah.
It was such a beautiful moment to get to laugh at messing up, because I never laughed at messing up a word in my life until you're messing up a Shakespearean word that no one in their right mind is going to know how to pronounce. And you're doing it with multiple of your, very close friends. And at the end of the class, we're lying on the floor laughing at each other because none of us can act or read, apparently. So
No. That's why I was going to, before you even said it, I feel like I knew where you were going with that. Cause I was just like, as somebody who probably, already has trouble, I could imagine who had someone, let me do that again. As somebody who had already trouble reading normal speech pattern in a text, having that is almost like a godsend, because even if you do it in reverse, it sounds correct. And that's what's best about Shakespeare. So like, I was like, nope, I think I know where this is going. I was like, that is just amazing. So that's all I wanted to say for it.
And it really was. I think it's something that, before I would never recommend it to anyone. And now doing it, I'm like, every, dyslexic child, parents, get them into a Shakespeare class. It's hilarious. And they will have a ball with it. It's such a different way than they'll ever think. And my teacher in that class, her name was Jennifer Horn. And she's she's such a light in this world. And I had taken the class twice, actually. I took it back to back, and it was my second time taking it. And I decided when I was in there that we were just kind of chit-chatting, and, we were talking about the story and how stories build. And the next week she comes and she decides to take the whiteboard, and she says, I'm going to show you guys how a Shakespeare play is actually made, like from, the plot to, the climax of the story and all the different arcs in it. Mm-hmm. No one had ever taught me that because no teacher ever thought I needed to know it. They just assumed that, well, she's not going to be a writer. She doesn't need to know this stuff. And so it was interesting to have a teacher take that time with me. And that's where the importance of writing started to sink in, is that she kind of showed me what that was and what that meant. And she gave us the liberty to change the story however we wanted. I turned it into High School Musical.
Fair.
Like, like anyone should.
Especially in that time. Yeah, I would, for sure.
And it was the play Much to Do About Nothing, so it just fit. And I was like, Troy Bolton, it's a good match.
Oh my God. Troy Bolton has, oh my God, Claudio?
Exactly.
That's amazing.
It was the best. It was truly the best. And I went home that night, and I just decided, I was like, I want to be a writer. And I was filling out college applications at this time for fashion design, and I scrapped them. I deleted every single college application. I had gone touring colleges. I deleted every single one, and I filled out college applications to become a writer. And in that moment, I started reading everything, literally anything and everything I get my hands on. And I just took the pressure away from it. And once I realized that reading was for me and not for somebody else, whole new worlds opened up. And, it wasn't about, I couldn't read the book in the time frame the teacher wanted me to. It was whatever time frame I needed, I was going to enjoy the story. And I got into audiobooks a lot. Audiobooks was a huge thing for me. I loved them. And I specifically started where I would actually listen to the audiobook and read the book at the same time.
Why is it faded notch right here? Why is this faded?
Yes, no, I am like how everyone thinks is weird that you read it, but it's not.
No, it trains your brain, one, to read faster. Like it'll actually auto train it. And two, it's such a nice little break, isn't it? You get to enjoy the story in such a different way. I feel like it gives you an escape. There's an escape to it.
So graphic audio, perfect audiobook for you because it's got characters, it's got music, it's got background music or like background noise, so much immersion. So spotlight.
That out.
So all of your favorite books that you probably do, like they have a graphic audio version of it.
Probably.
Ooh, I love that. Okay. Immediately adding to cart.
Fair.
I just gotta say, I really actually relate with all that, especially the Shakespeare, actually. So first of all, going back to what you said about, you learn to get quiet when things don't quite work out. I remember my 7th grade LA class. We were passing around a Shakespeare play to each read a certain line, each of us had a character to play. And I forget what my character was, but I remember it was a Midsummer's Night's Dream. And I was so excited for it because I was like, this is like, oh, I get to read something. I get to like put myself out there and be confident. And then I completely stumbled over my words and everyone laughed at me. And so it was just like one of those moments where I'm like, okay, well now I feel nervous every time I have to stand up and read because someone's going to laugh at me and that's going to trigger my anxiety. That's great. But then like a couple years later in 11th grade LA, we kind of had a similar moment where we did Macbeth soliloquies. And then like I did really good on that. And I did like top of the class on that when we presented them. And in that same class, we started learning how to write stories, like what you said, like what goes into writing a story and like what goes into building characters and that kind of thing. And I remember specifically my teacher, Mr. Nelson, I don't know his first name, came up to me like I went up to him for once. I went up to him and shared my story. And he read through it and he's like, and it was like handwritten, scribbled on lined paper. It was like 3-4 pages front to back each. And I handed that to him, like, here's this. He read through it and he's like, this is really good. Like, this could like be the beginnings of a book. And I'm like, someone likes what I wrote? Someone likes what's going on in my head? Okay. And so it's like, well, I'm not like necessarily going like into like writing stuff now, but that definitely sticks in my head now whenever I do write, because it's like I love writing like short stories. So I really relate with your story there.
You always could.
I could become a writer.
Write short stories.
100%.
Confidence to post.
Especially like there were 2 things with your story that I really resonated with. Well, first of all, the ADHD. Like I found out really late that I was on the neurodivergent spectrum somewhere where it's like the OCD, like I'm just better at hiding it because it was like layered over because I'm so both parts of my brain, like the analytical, practical management side of me is so strong that the other stuff seems kind of like over on top of it.
You very much present neurotypical.
But then figured out very quickly on getting all these neurodivergent friends and I was like, I'm not
I'm not normal.
No, because like every person I meet, it's like, oh, I got ADHD, I got anxiety, I got this. And I'm like, okay, I either just might be attracting something, but the thing is, I feel like I'm drawn. I feel like an opposite effect. And I was like, no. And then my friends helped me figure it out. I was like, wait, you have that feeling? Oh, shit.
Exactly. Like, I have a test for you. Go.
It's like, yes, you are.
Slide the doctor.
I do remember though when we had dinner with Ruthie, a mutual friend of ours. She was like, "Oh, you finally figured it out. Great."
It's like, "Oh yeah, we figured it out before."
I was like, "Hey, babe, I knew that like years ago when I met you."
Yeah.
For me, it's very much like the hair trigger stuff. I am just so honest and genuine about my feelings that I don't have like that barrier that some people do when, okay, what situation are we in? Can I just say, hey, an example, I was driving some people around yesterday and I just saw some hot guys and I had like this hair trigger moment. I don't care who's in the car level of like, I don't see that in Indiana. And just was like, oh my God, goodness. And so like, I don't have that filter. Like I have to really be sitting and being like thinking about it because I'm just so genuine with my thoughts and opinions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I had this conversation with Fred, actually. It was so funny. I was down at Merle's Inlet, and which is a really fun little spot here, and they have this restaurant called Drunken Jack's. And it's super good. Total promo for them right now. No, but it's really genuinely amazing. And there was this guy who like walked out on the inlet has kind of like an area you can walk on right outside the restaurant. And this guy walks by me and my friend, and he is gorgeous, but he's tall. He's like 6'4", and he's got those shoulders. You know what I'm talking about? Like just big shoulders that you're just like, oof, he doesn't look like a little, scrawny man. He looks like a man. And I was just like, oh, and like everything in me goes, ooh, I could climb that boy like a tree. And I didn't realize our waiter had come over. And he just looks at me traumatized. This, young little waiter is like, okay, ma'am, here's your espresso martini. Like,
I embarrass all of the friends I am with by just being like, I how many times have I said that about our book boyfriend characters where I'm just like, I could climb that man.
Yeah.
I like the jungle gym.
Exactly.
Is that how to climb up that?
I don't know. I don't do cardio, but I wouldn't mind that one.
It's like sometimes I have those zingers, you know what I mean? And I'm just like
the ones that like just come out and it's like, oh, that was good. That was a good one.
It's a neurodivergent people are like the superhero powered people.
Yes.
Like I'm just saying that. And then like the other thing that that actually was an example. I was going to say that like I have so many thoughts going in my head because when I get excited about stuff, I don't know how to process and filter out what I want to say. So I even at this moment, I want to say 5 things to you, but I was like, I know there's a time crunch. I know there's da-da-da. So it's like, I have to be like, okay, what's most important? And that sucks. So I wish I could like be on a phone and that's how we were on the phone for hours on end because I'd have so many things I'd want to talk about.
Which already, even just now, you saying the time crunch thing, your talking speed actually sped up. And I'm just waiting for you to stumble over your words because like you're speeding up. You're really speeding up your speech.
Which is, and it's so important to like bring up these moments and like you said, even at the beginning, just be relatable to people. Who is going to, be that special relatable person for someone? And it's like, I feel like that so strongly, and which was going to segue into my last thought before I moved on was about just dropping everything and going into writing. I didn't go into the world thinking I was going to be an actress and a singer. Like that was not something in my repertoire. I thought I was going to be, my parents wanted me to be a teacher, like a nurse for a little bit. And then I settled on pre-law.
Ooh.
And I was like, I want to be a lawyer. I want to be like an assistant. I want to be scheduling. And then it was like, my mom, so much like yours, was here's this play. You're going. We're auditioning. And I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was that specific moment, but it was just continuously being on the stage and continuously having these moments with people, even if they were bad, like, typical high school kids, like you were saying, just mean or,
jerks.
Self-insecure people who at the time was like,
had their own things going on.
Yeah. I mean, petty as fuck. I love being petty. It's fine. But,
It's fine.
But it's like, it was just my calling.
Yeah.
And there's no other way to describe it other than being like, there was just a moment where somebody said something, or like my teacher was like, you know what, maybe not for this show, but I want you to come back. There's something in you. I don't know what it is and I can't tell you, but I actually almost gonna start tearing up. I texted that we actually share birthdays. This teacher and I. It was like meant to be. Like we're birthday sisters.
I love that.
She was the first person that told me like, you should just go to the next audition, even though that one was a flop. Like just go to the next one, see how it goes. And now I'm an actress, a PA, a podcaster in LA. Like I never thought this is where my story would end up, but it's like, it feels so right. And yeah, it's like what you said. I was like, yeah, that's real.
Yeah, no, I'm 100%. I think the only way I've ever been able to describe it is that it's like there was an invisible wire that was attached to my heart, and I didn't know it was there until someone yanked on it.
That is a good way to put it. I definitely relate. Maybe I should go into writing, because
See?
like that's what it feels like.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because a lot of it is, you know, I've done music my entire life, and then I went into college thinking I wanted to be like a music teacher, and that still would be fun to do. But like I dropped out of a special like master's program that our school had. I dropped out of that and then switched to regular music. Then I ended up becoming a choral conductor just out of the blue, like changing last semester of of my senior
Something
year.
easy to transition to so you could graduate on time.
Yeah, but it's like just it was the last semester, and I'm like, you know what, I want to do this, and it's like that was a big decision. Okay, in very little time, but it's like now that I'm out here and have all of these opportunities, I'm like, oh, you know what? I actually really like writing. So,
well, it's important to bring up where you are too to fans, because like, you know, it, not that we're like enlightened in any way, but it's like we had these moments of that string getting pulled, right? It's like you haven't necessarily had that yet in a form of however you're going to feel it. And I know sometimes this is where the fans know too much, that you haven't had this moment yet, but that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like you're still figuring out what you want to do. And like, I think something, it was someone in DC while I was in internship there. Long story. I was actually going to politics. I became an actor. Yeah. Yeah. It's a wild chain of events. Never wanted to be a politician though. Hell no. Never wanted to do that, but like I was specifically doing theater education, so it was like stuff to do with that. But anyway, it was something that your dream can always change. Just because you have your job now doesn't mean that on a dime or a drop of the hat, I'm doing college apps and what I was going to do was not what I ended up doing. Like it happens when you least expect it in a moment where like you wouldn't have thought. So it's not it's not wrong to not. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, honestly, you both are inspirations for having found your string already. I mean, like, yeah, like you said, the dream can always change. I think was weird for me growing up because I never really had a dream. It didn't often feel like I had much faith, like, or anyone had faith in me. And so it was like, for me, it was always, what is the next thing that I'm supposed to do? Like, you know, sometimes it felt like my parents didn't know if I was going to graduate high school. And then sometimes it felt like they didn't know if I was going to graduate college. And it wasn't even like, oh, I'm proving it that I can do this. It was just like, well, I'm expected to, so I got to do this. I'm not really doing anything for myself. And so it's like, I don't have a dream. And I'm only now figuring that out at age 22 is I don't have a dream. I don't really have any long-term goals. And I got to start figuring that out because otherwise I have no direction.
It's almost it doesn't sound terrible. It's almost a great place to be in though at 22 because you are done with school and you have now the time to explore that and to feel everything. When you're in school, you don't have time to feel. You know, you're always doing something. You're always got to work. Right now, you're in part of your life that you guys are doing cool stuff like this. I mean, you're gonna feel it as you talk to people. You know, you'll get those moments of clarity and that you wouldn't have gotten until now in your life.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's like it's cool that you also like have felt the same way. So that's all I wanted, and it kind of like led into my next question. Like, so I mean, you did talk about like your hardships with I do want to say like, not that you don't already know this, but you just definitely feel proud about proving everyone who ever probably had doubts about you and your dyslexia or the other things. I'm sorry, you listed them in.
You're good. Don't worry.
All of the dis ones.
Yeah, all the dis ones. Is that you're an inspiration for your own fans and an inspiration for others who might not necessarily be in the same situation, but like this girl who is dyslexic as fuck is reading, listening to audiobooks, writing. Jesus Christ. Like you would tell somebody that, or like an old person maybe, and they just be like, I wouldn't expect you to be a writer at all. Mm-hmm. And so that's just amazing overall. So snaps to
those are the kind of stories that I look for. I look for the hardship stories and the getting through adversity kind of stories because it's like that. I mean, makes me feel less alone, but it also makes me feel like super proud of people like me.
That's sorry, but so then getting into your book. It's called The Enemy of Time. So I guess I first wanted to start out by not trying to flip script, but just what is your book? And I guess like what inspired you to write this?
Well, this book, it started as never being supposed to be a book ever. I had originally, my first book I ever wrote was a young adult fantasy, and that was the genre I was going into. That was my plan in life. And, don't tell the universe your plans because they will laugh in your face. And I learned that very quickly in the writing world. And I did something no one should ever do. I sent out my first draft to agents of that particular book and got some hard reality pretty fast. And I ended up going to a convention, a writer's convention, to learn more. And that's where I ended up meeting my publisher of The Enemy of Time. And I went up to her and I booked time with her knowing that she was an adult publisher. Like, she didn't do YA. But I was like, I just really want to talk with her. I just really want to meet her. And so she was so sweet. She sat down, she talked to me forever. We became actually really good friends. And 6 months later, she called me and we were just chatting about my original book. And she was going to kind of help me through the process of, publishing and all that world more as a mentor. And in the conversation, I think I was telling her about this relationship I had just gotten into because we were friends at this point. And this was one of those whirlwind relationships. I had never been in love, ever. When I was in high school, I had puppy love. We all had those little crushes, and my biggest crush was on my best friend's older brother. So sorry, Morgan, if you're hearing this. I was in love with him. But in the cute little way that you are when you're a teen. And I had gotten into my first real relationship when I had started talking with Alex. We'd been dating for maybe a few weeks. And I was telling her about that and, trials and tribulations with it. He's going to kill me if I say this on here, but our second week of dating, he ended up behind bars. Anyway, so I was telling her about that. I was like, my boyfriend called me from jail. Like, I don't know what to do. Should I continue this? And and we were just talking back and forth about it, laughing. And in that moment, I told her about this short story I had written that reminded me a lot of this kid who I was dating. And she goes, "Ooh, that's kind of interesting. Tell me more." So I told her about it, and I said, "Yeah, my professor always wanted me to turn it into a book because they really loved the idea. But I just don't know how. I don't know where I would go with it. I have a few chapters, written, but I'm not sure what else to do." And she said, "Well, if you can get that to me, fairly quickly, I'll take a read. It's adult. I can publish that." Oh. So I was like, okay, yeah. So in 40 days, I wrote the first draft. I sent it to her, and pretty much on spot, a couple days later, she said, "Great, let's do it. Let's sign papers." And it was a done deal. And it was, this unbelievable dream come true that would have never happened if I had gone the normal traditional way that everyone tells you, get an agent, go to publishing, do it that way, And so I think that's always something to say is like, if one door closes on you 1,000 times over, find a different room. And that's what we did. And it's been a beautiful experience getting to publish with her and going through that process. It's an eye-opening process of all the little things. And in edits, you gotta have some tough skin for edits because, line edits, copy edits, there's all really nice ways of telling you everything you've done wrong. And I love both my editors. Both Alex has worked on it and Tina. Tina is amazing and she's blunt. And she tells you that in her first email. She's like, "I'm going to let you know I'm really blunt, but that's just because we're going to make it really good." So you have to do some breathing exercises, before you get into the notes and you see all the red lines and you're just like, "Oh my gosh, is that written in my blood?" So.
No, my blood, sweat, and tears. That's what it is. Yeah.
And, and so that process was a really amazing start to finish. But the story itself, again, a little bit came from this relationship I was in and trying to figure out when you love someone so deeply, but they maybe don't love themselves enough to make the right decisions. And how do you balance that? And how do you be there for them while also taking care of yourself? And so I was going through that as I was writing it. And I had a lot of friends in high school and stuff that I had watched kind of go down really dark paths. And one in particular that I had to say goodbye to before I wanted to and before I really knew I had to. And that last talk with them, that last conversation, I didn't know it was going to be the last. I didn't know it was going to be that last moment I had with them. And if I had known that, I would have said something else. I would have pushed them harder or maybe not pushed at all. You know what I mean? Like I would have done something if I would have known it was that last moment. And I think we all hold back a lot in life and we don't say something that's on our heart, or you think you're going to have more time, you know, whether it's someone leaves you from, you know, they got a job opportunity and they leave somewhere, or it's a breakup, or, you know, someone passes too fast in life. You know, there's always something that at 1 second can take someone from you and you just don't know when that's going to be. And that's kind of how this book started. And it is a love story, I swear. As I tell you, it's this love story between Alex and Jamie. And Alex is, I joke, she's a little bit of me, she's a little of my mom, she's a little bit of my alter ego buried deep in there. And she's kind of just she's me when I haven't had coffee. That's the real way to explain her. She's kind of a sour person. Like she's just very dry humor, you know, one-liners are kind of her thing. She has zero filter in life, which causes a lot of issues. You know, you see, I feel like you're relating here.
So this book is for me then.
You know, I feel like it's a lot. She's definitely that character for girls who have been told to smile more, if you know what I mean. She's the girl for them. Like she, instead of smiling, is going to bite you. You know what I mean? Like that's her character.
Yeah.
Like,
no, inside joke. I talk about biting consistently on our podcast. So that's why I like that. That's so funny to us.
Oh, I'm glad I added one more biting conversation into this.
It's like, nope, I'm like,
somehow we need to capture that onto a t-shirt because she does that so often.
I do.
Just make it an outline of your teeth and put it on a stamp on a shirt, and that's right there.
It's like rawr.
It's like biting is okay.
New merchandise.
It's like already got a t-shirt made.
Biting's okay.
Perfect.
But yeah, so she's more of
She's more of that. She's the biting kind of character. You know, the glass is half empty in her mind always. And even as a little kid, you know, her mom forces her on the playground at 6 years old with her brother Lucas, they're a blended family, so they're not, you know, by blood, but by now, you know, the family's merging. And he's like, I do not want to deal with her. Like he's just barely older by a few months, and he's like, I am the older brother, even though it's like really but a few months. So he's decided that he's going to abandon her on a playground, you know, kind of thing. And she finds herself into some trouble, as any good 6-year-old with an attitude would. And you know, and Jamie at 6 years old comes running in and kind of is this, you know, knight in shining armor to her that she, you know, doesn't want or need. And that's kind of how she takes. She's just like, I don't know about this, you know, but he kind of sticks around, and they kind of do that back and forth for each other, where she saves him, he saves her. And it's a story of their relationship through the years from about 6 to 23. And we get to see that through the beginning of the story, which is chapter 1, which is she's 23 years old and she's in the car with her mom, and she's just come back home after 5 years of never stepping foot in her hometown. And she's there for her 5-year high school reunion, and she's kind of forced to confront everyone she left behind, and a little bit of the drama and turmoil, including Jamie and all of that.
Yep, this is being pre-ordered.
Order out now. Not saying.
Yeah, and we'll totally give you that room at the end for that. I'm just also saying yes, pre-ordered now.
But like, actually, that kind of hits me hard because my childhood best friend was named Jamie. And just in the past couple months, I actually had to stop being his friend just because he was going down the wrong way with him. He chose someone else over our friendship, and so that actually kind of hits me a little bit.
Yeah, you're tearing up.
And while our story was not a romance story, though we did try and date for a month in 7th grade, like that actually like hits me hard. That makes me want to read it more because it's like, what if this other Jamie? How does that work out?
This Jamie will probably be.
Is this Jamie gonna actually be better,
hotter, and maybe more romantic?
We were childhood friends. We met when I was 5 and he was 6. So it's like, that's wild. And we were friends all the way up until like just this past year.
I'm so sorry that you have to go through that. It's like, it's a different kind of heartbreak because it's not like someone passed, but they're still not in your life. And so it's like, it's like mourning at the same time.
And you're used to them being there. And then it's like, wait, we were friends for so long, and then, wait, we're not friends anymore? How did that work? And I feel like this hole in my chest, in my heart.
Yeah, it's like they're like almost like a body part. You know what I mean? Like, and when they're gone, you feel them still, but yet they're not there for you to call or text or to do your normal patterns with them, and it feels like something's missing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, that's
so I'll be buying your book and I'll be reading it.
Well, random question. So are you still with that behind the bars man that weeks in, or like?
No, totally all good. We are not together anymore. We are really close friends though, like weirdly codependent close friends. And like we understand our relationship and like we're cool with it, but like people around us are like, you guys are nuts. Like
literally everybody in our fandom and also our friends thinking that we're a couple.
Yeah.
And it's like, no.
Like, you two are living, how are you not a couple?
It's like, does my podcast make any sense to you? Me talking about men at all?
Like we've said it many times. I'm gay, she's not.
But you
right there you go, new merch.
I'm gay, she's
not.
Well, you're also she's a power bi though. She's the disaster bi.
The chaos.
Oh.
Oh, I know. Yeah. It's not easy. No, you were talking about, especially as a writer and segueing also as you as like a personality on Instagram and book talk, TikToker, reality. I don't even know what we call ourselves anymore. An influencer
of sorts.
Something I make very apparent in our fandom and our space is like, because we're single, like. And the reason I ask that is because it's like, I don't know, there's so many people in society today where, and especially even back then, that is like, you're defined by the relationship status. It's like, you get to a certain point, it's like the Bridgerton thing where you become like an old maid at 26 if you haven't, been in a long-term relationship or been, with someone. And it's just, I wanted to like share that with you in the terms of, I love that that's something that a different perspective, because like, I don't know, I see so many people on Book Talk or just in general, like, they're making their boyfriends read ACOTAR, or they're making, or their significant other do this, or like their boyfriends come on their podcast, or their boyfriends are on the podcast, and they like, and I don't know. I mean, obviously there's a lot of sister podcasts and stuff, but there's always a relationship somewhere where it's like, oh yeah, my boyfriend this, my boyfriend that, which is, I'm going to go on the record and say, I'm fine with, I love love. I love people being in relationships. I love people finding their person and getting it and just having that. There's also the part of me though, that's like, I see a couple walking hand in hand outside and I'm like, damn you.
Understood.
It's the craving of wanting love and acceptance and like someone like, and I think that was like the Jamie thing that I talk about constantly in Book Boyfriends. Someone who's very bitey like me, having someone constant around when you've had troubles in relationships in the past where it's like, are they going to stick around, or
you
like
need a knight. You need a champion.
I am a queen. I need the king of my dreams, man. But I think it's also important to have in these spaces the representative people, like, not saying that if you were single, it's like, oh, or that if you were in a relationship, like, oh, you wouldn't understand. But
where we are right now,
there's like a relatability to understanding that it's like relationships are hard, and we look to these books to also like know what not to do. Sometimes like what to not look, what's too much, and or what's the borderline of fantasy, and then what's like, again, I'm not thinking some 6'4" guy is gonna come barreling in. I mean, please,
honey, like
if he just happens to have wings, that's great.
Tails and all. I mean,
universe. That'd be fine. But like, there's a relatability to understanding that like the root of the romance and why these books mean so much to I feel like people like us who are single and looking, the friendship, the development between two people that gets them to that place, whether or not they're going back and forth, or whether or not they're enemies to lovers, or they get stuck in that one bed together and have this moment. It's I don't know, it's just so important to me to have like opinions like this where it's like, I don't know, we're at that place, we understand you, like,
we're just two single girls talking about books and hot fey males, just
and you couldn't do that like with a guy, you know what I mean? Sometimes like when I was because in the one relationship, they were like, do you have to talk about Henry Cavill every other day? Do you have to talk about The Witcher and the bathtub scene? I'm like, yes, I do actually need to talk about The Witcher in the bathtub. Like, that's just me.
Yes, that's part of my being.
We talk about this with each other all the time. If our significant others cannot accept our BTS husbands, it's a red flag. I'm sorry.
Because, like, even if I'm, like, with a partner, I'm still gonna be like, oh yeah, JK, shirtless? That's hot. Like, that's my boy right there.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, there's the joy in life right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Shirtless men who are also at the same time very, like, sweet gamer boys. And it's like, ooh, that dichotomy. I want to straddle you right now. I don't know what else to say. But yes, anyway. You talked about the book and about, like, obviously, Alex and Jamie. Were there any books that, like, because you talked about before how you were just reading a lot. Were there a lot of books, or was there a few books that inspired this one?
Ooh, there was a few in my life in total. Like, I've always been drawn to books that are sad. And I know that sounds weird, but I've always loved any kind of, like, depressing, like, make me bawl. I grew up with this weird thing that I always thought, like, I had a very supportive, loving family, so this should not have been in my head, but I always needed permission to cry in my mind. Like, I thought, you're being strong if you don't cry. And if a book is sad or a movie is sad, that's a moment to cry. That's allowed. And so I don't know why, that was always my brain. And so I really fell for, like, I read The Notebook. I loved that. And I loved the way that made me feel. And I watched the movie, obviously, with my mom and just bawled. And I loved it. And then I did the same thing with Me Before You. Loved that. Loved that so much. And the movie just, oh
my God.
Yes. And the fact that Finnick played him, I'm just sorry, I'm going to use that name. Finnick played him. It was perfect. I loved that book so much, and in that intense way, it made you feel. Also, it made you learn lessons at the same time. I feel like those kind of books, even they are sad and you're crying and everything, they're love stories that taught you something along the journey of it. I think everyone takes their own message out of them, but that's what I really loved, that a sad story could heal, and that's what I thought was really unique about those books. And so I think those two were really big ones for me. And then the other one that was something that I've never heard of it talked about as much, but it's called The Last Letter from Your Lover. And they actually did make a Netflix movie of it. And the book and the movie are totally separate, very, very different stories.
I think I've seen the movie, or, like, I haven't seen the movie, but I've seen, like, the cover.
Oh,
it's a good one to watch. It's definitely worth it. I watched the movie before I'd seen the book, and I was scrolling with my mom trying to find, a late night movie to see. My dad was out of town, and we're like, we're gonna go full girls' night. We had Pop-Tarts, we had ice cream, we had everything. It was insane. And we're going full movie girl night, and I watched this movie, and it's 2 timelines, and it bounces between these 2 timelines, and I loved that style of story. And even though, Alex and Jamie, their story together is only over, it's from that 6 to 23, so it's not a huge time compared to this story, which is, it's decades. It's a very long time between these 2 stories. That was the first time I had seen the time like that done in a movie, in the way they did it. And I loved it. And I very quickly, after I saw, inspired by a book, I was like, oh, I gotta read this. I read the book, and it's completely different. It's a completely different story, but same concept of these, these flashing pieces of 2 different stories and how they connected. And I think that's what really opened my eyes to, ooh, I could tell 2 stories at once. And I really loved that idea. And, telling both stories and having these parallels. I bring in, Alex's brother, Lucas, and her best friend, and his best friend really growing up in their little circle, Kayla, and kind of their relationship together over the years. Even though there are these considered, sub-characters, they really play such a huge role in everything that happens in the past. And they really build this future as well in the story. And kind of getting to show these multi-stories kind of fluttering in and out, and the lessons that Alex learns in it, her brother's picking up at the same time, and you're seeing them mirrored through him in, the current timeline. And I think that's where it all started for me, was from that one movie and then reading the book a bit, was learning how can you make parallels in a story that, stick with somebody for so long.
Because I love like trying to write in two different perspectives simultaneously. Because it's like, okay, well, I have been in this character's perspective for so long, but this other character is kind of also a main character. Let's see how they're thinking about this. And it's like really fun to like play the same scene, but from two completely different perspectives.
It almost reminds me of the last 5 years. Like that, it was like the Anna Kendrick, Jeremy Jordan. My friend would kill me if I got his name wrong. The musical. I don't know if you know that one.
Yeah, briefly.
It's very sad because it's one of those things where like, they break up at the end of the 5 years at the beginning.
Wow, spoiler.
It's in the first 5 minutes. But then it's like it's seeing it in reverse. So it's like they end with their meeting.
Oh, I love that.
And it's like it's fun. Like in a good way of knowing at the end and then seeing it from both their perspectives.
I love
their
a good flashback.
Own relationship over the last 5 years. And I was like, ending with a fucking cute rom-com, like, oh my god, meet cute moment where you think this might be the one. Realizing this is the end of the movie.
It's like you're starting at the end and ending at the beginning.
Those will tear you up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's
break your heart and soul and smash it on the floor and run over it a few times.
Honestly, like the sad, depressing books and stories, like those I love reading those and I love writing those. I think honestly, this is maybe sad too, but like my favorite trope to write is hurt comfort. Like hurt comfort trope, just because it's like, there are so many like things that hurt people in the world and not enough of them get comfort. So it's like, I like writing what comfort I think like people should get for that kind of thing. So it's like, or like in like the small things that like have hurt me in the past, like I take from that and be like, well, did I get this comfort or what comfort would I want? So I'm like taking from my own experience with that too. But it's like, I just love writing hurt comfort.
This is also the first I'm hearing of this. Like her writing is kind of like her own world.
Because I don't have enough confidence to share it.
No, it's so hard, but definitely like just find one person, it doesn't matter who it is, find one person you're comfortable with and let them read it. That's what I do with my mom and my dad. I was like, they were the first to read it. They're the first to read anything I do. And my dad is brutal. He has that red pen. He was more brutal. He was almost more brutal than my editor.
Wow.
And, but in a great way, in a way that was like, he'd always start with, this is really good, but I'm gonna make it better. Like he would be like, let's work on this, but he always made me feel like I was, that I was in the right space and I was comforted. So if you find someone who makes you feel safe reading your work, it makes a really big difference.
Yeah.
And thinking about that, but I guess
a lot of good things to think about.
Definitely lots of good things. Now I'm feeling inspired. I'm gonna write after this.
I'm so glad.
I try and write a little bit every day, and I use like, I don't look at like my word count as I'm writing, but like then occasionally I'll check it and it's like, oh yeah, so you have like 200,000 plus words on this one thing, and I'm like, when did that happen?
Things are in your own element. Writing is like the bane of my existence unless like I'm writing something personally about me or a character I'm playing.
I get that. I mean, with academic writing, that is the bane of my existence. Like I thought I hated writing my entire life, and then I started creative writing just on my own in my free time, like junior year of college, and I'm like, oh, actually, when I'm like not being told to write, this actually works. Like, but I guess on the topic of like tropes and themes, what do you think are your major big themes that you talk about throughout the book?
And I guess then just sorry to add that, because I didn't like put my second thought in there, is like, what do you want people then to get from it?
Such a good question. I think it's called The Enemy of Time, and there's a reason for the title. We are all our own enemy of time in our own ways. We all have something in our life that has become, an enemy of our time. I find that it can be something as simple as, I'll do that tomorrow, and we put it off. And, or you're uncomfortable in a situation, you don't want to have that deep talk with someone, so you kind of take it down the line, right? I think that we are times so much standing in front of ourselves from from what we could do or what we really want to do, and whether that's, from fear or rejection or whatever it may be. But we tend to hold ourselves back, and time isn't unlimited. It's a sand clock. If you ever look at the clock with the sand and it's coming down, time's running out for everybody, regardless of when your last moment is, or none of us know when our last moment is, And so I think it's a big thing to always say, say it before it's too late. Don't hold things back in your life, and just be you, and find the people that make you feel comfortable being yourself with them, because then the time you spend in this world is going to feel so much more, you're going to feel like your time is so much more valued, and you're going to enjoy every moment so much more. And even if a chapter closes with somebody in your life, you want to end it on a note that makes you feel good. However that may be for you. It might be yelling at them. It might be making up with them, whatever gives you clarity at the end of that, page, you need to give that to yourself, and know that, don't say tomorrow. Say today. And that was a big thing with this story for me. And it's also, with Jamie's character, there's a little bit of me in Jamie's character and the manner that he goes within undiagnosed learning disability in school. And it shows throughout his character that, he very quickly, reverts into those moments of, if I can't be the smart one in the room or the traditionally smart one in the room, then I'm going to be the class clown. I'm going to be the rebel. I'm going to find something else that makes it to where, it's not that I'm not smart. I just don't want to be here. That kind of attitude. And I've just known so many people like myself in that situation. I would love to remind people that high school is just a second in time. It's just a little second. And when you get out into the world, that's when you get to really be you, and find your voice. And so many people and so many young kids get stuck in what the world is trying to tell them who they should be at that moment. And their peers are kind of putting them into that, that box at the time. And if you just kind of get through that little bump in the road of life, there's so much more that's out there afterwards. And you're never what one person says you are, and one decision really does make a ripple effect. So just, don't think before you do something that you didn't, want your whole life to end up being in that moment, because life really is it's a ripple effect, So I think that's a long way to say it that way. But yeah, I think Jamie was my character to kind of express to, anyone who's ever going through anything, whether it's learning disabilities, anxiety, depression, whatever it is you're going through at any stage in your life, it's, there's people around you, and you don't have to mold your life around that. You can, embrace that and go on with it in a different way, with people that support you. And that's kind of what Alex is supposed to be in the book. It's his support team that he kind of forgets is there sometimes. And same with her. She's always forgetting it because she's slapping him around, in a nice way. But like she's, was her emotional punching bag sometimes, and back and forth. But yeah, I hope that made sense.
Wow,
that was beautiful.
No, okay, that almost brought me to tears, because like, if you need a moment to get your thoughts together, because I don't, without being, you're allowed to be long-winded. You're the guest.
Yeah,
you're fine.
This is why you're here.
Because people hear me talk about this shit all the time, but it's like, just wow, all those points you hit are like things that I constantly bring up in my life all the time. And what we literally had this conversation like similarly enough a week ago. And I said, somehow living in the present while also knowing that there's a future ahead for you to look forward to, but also being present.
This was a 1 a.m. talk. Like lights were out. We were just
sitting on the couch. No. We were in bed, weren't we?
We were in bed.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm trying to write, man. Then you bring all this like existential stuff on me.
No, I just asked her, I said, do you have a dream? And then we got like,
let's write about my hot men. And then
and you're so spot on with, I don't even know where to begin, like just with not even like the enemy of time, but just that high school is a blip in the entire thing. Like that's why those books for me, when getting it, like your book is going to be like mine was for someone of like high school was a trip, and it was just awful for me in so many ways. Like good for, I met like friends that I am still friends with to this day. But it's like every little thing back then felt like it was the end of the world. And then getting to where I am now, like, God, when you said 5-year reunion also as well, I was like, oh my God, it's almost nearing like my 10th reunion. Dear God. My 10th year high school reunion. Or that these people are going to matter in my life that didn't like they were, terrible people to me, or like those bullies, or we talked about that we're going to be constantly like, I got away. And I can't even imagine me even having like this moment of introspection while you're talking of how much had happened in like college, and even since leaving college, and like even college is that blip in time for you. Dear God, there's so much more to it than that. Yeah, wow. There's not really much I can say after that.
To be fair, I did have an end of the world moment in high school, considering I was a COVID child.
Oh,
I was too. I get it.
Yeah.
So I'm the old bitch here. Is that what it is?
Yep. But other than that, I didn't really have any other actual end of the world moments. But yeah, that I think just the idea of time is very overwhelming to me. Mm-hmm. Just because it's like everyone does talk about how you don't have time to like sit around and just like do nothing, or like you don't know how much time you have left. But then again, when you try and do everything, it's like you need to slow down. Like you have time to explore, stop trying to rush into things. And so it's like it always feels like a back and forth kind of thing. And then like just that, like with what I said earlier of not really having a dream, it feels like, so do I have time to figure that out, or do I not have time and need to just choose something now? And like it's very daunting as well. The idea of age sometimes, like I forget that I'm 22, like that means I've lived 22 years. That actually seems like a lot to me at times. But then other times it's like, I meet people who are in their 80s, 90s, and they've lived 4 times as long as me. And so it's like, I don't know. I think I lost where my point was going with this. However, time is very daunting to me. And so I think that's another reason why I think that's what you said was very beautiful. It's just time doesn't end. And like here you have the end of time, or whatever, the enemy of time. And it's like time doesn't have an end. And we don't really think of time having an enemy either. Time is just time. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I forget where I was going with that, but my emotions are high.
I'm sorry.
No, it's in a good way. It means you've reached me as a person, as an author, and I think that's a good place to start for releasing your book.
It's also you bringing up like just do it. There's so many times like where I got to that point though. Maybe it was my books, and again, like I said, you're gonna like this book is gonna be that for people, and I'm so excited for you because like to imagine that I would write something that would matter enough, be like, hey, this kid's going into college and going with a wholly different perspective, is actually going in with hope. Or even college kids getting out and being like, I have hope now that I can actually do this whole adult thing. Mm-hmm. It was about just doing it. There was like, because we have mothers who are they are so headstrong and so powerful of women that it's like, if you just listen to me, like if you just listen to what, like, this will get better, this will be this way, da-da-da. And it's like, I never wanted to listen to her ever in ways like, let me have my feelings in this moment that I feel like this is the end of the world. Like, or, let me have this.
Which I think is just as important though. Like in the sense of like, yes, being able to just do it and not think too much about it, but then also letting yourself have time to feel what emotions you're feeling in the moment.
I liked what you were talking about there with your mom, because that's the character Alex, and that's exactly the relationship she has with her mom. It's like her mom constantly trying to remind her to like, push her forward and everything. And she's like, just give me a moment. I need my mic and let me cry into it kind of thing. And there's that tug of war between her and her mom, and then that mother-daughter relationship that it's interesting because you see it in the current timeline, how now, she's this older adult and she's like, Mom, tell me what to do, whereas
so
before she's like...
So basically Alex is just Tabby and Tabby is just Alex. That's what I'm getting from this.
But yeah. And those are so important themes, and I'm so like happy that, I don't know, it's like even I'm proud of you, even though like I haven't known you for long. It's like one of those things where I'm like, oh, I'm proud that this book is gonna exist, and that like honestly that I feel so attached to it just you talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you.
I've known you for a little less than 2 hours and I already feel like we're close.
Very close.
You are very easy to talk to.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna start sending you memes now and stuff. And you'll be like, this girl, get her off my phone. We are no longer close. I am that human. I'm a fan.
Need more memes. I always need more memes.
Please text. And we also should do like book talk stuff together, or like whatever. sure. But it's like, I mean, if there's anything else you wanted to say before you like promoted your book and like told everyone about like the pre-order and stuff, go ahead. I don't have any more, like, without going into completely like 2-hour long conversation with you about, I think I have my questions answered.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is really, really great. I feel like we need to buy the book and then we need to read it and then we need to bring you back on and talk
about it. Yeah.
Please do. I would love that. And yes, pre-orders are officially out. They dropped on the 23rd. They originally were on the 25th, so they gave me a little bit of a surprise when I saw them out on the 23rd. That was exciting. I woke up, my grandma was like, oh my gosh, the book is out. And I was like, okay. So that was very exciting. But yes, the book's officially out for pre-order. Pre-orders, I know the book doesn't technically come to you physically until January, February right now, but pre-orders are unbelievably important. They kind of determine where we end up in like Barnes & Nobles, Walmart's, Targets, where you see it in person. So it kind of tells the bookstore, hey, I want to see that kind of thing. So if you would like to, pre-orders are amazing and they're great. And if not, you can wait for it to come out when it's a physical copy. It'll be on ebooks and all that fun stuff. But really, I'm just unbelievably overwhelmed that this experience is happening and that I get to share this book, which is really, it's people say blood, sweat, and tears, but this book really is a big mashup between my heart, my soul, my head, my, experiences with friends, with family, boyfriends, the whole thing. It's a big mashup of me, and I would not have gotten to do it the way I have if it hadn't have been for, all the amazing people who have followed me along my journey on social media and who rant and rave with me about Rafe Cameron and why do we think he's so hot even though he's a psycho. So I thank everybody who has listened to me talk about all the crazy things I like to talk about all the time, because it wouldn't be possible without all of them. And people like you too, to let me come on here and do this. So thank you so much.
Of course. And thanks for being our first author.
Yes.
Like,
very special.
Also, influencer, because the thing is, all our interviews have been with voice actors doing the graphic audio books for the books we're doing. So it's like, you're very special in a way of like, not just how we met, but also
our first non-topic kind of person.
Yeah, just talking about books and like vibing and talking about important things like this. Mm-hmm. They mean the world to me. So it's like the fact that they also mean the world to you is like very, I don't know, it feels like a comrade, commemoration, whatever that word is.
Being like, besties.
So, I mean, thank you so much for being on and taking the time to, do this as well. Please pre-order Haley's book. It already sounds like such a, if you like us and already like our experiences, it seems like this book is for you in terms of all that. So yes, we will have to read the book when it comes out, bring you back, have like a special thing for this. Yeah. But yeah, is there anything else you wanted to say to our people before I segue into this?
I don't think so. Like, all I know is like I am like this kind of this interview like just happened so quickly in terms of like scheduling. When Tabby said, "Hey, we're going to be talking to this lady," and I'm like, "Okay, you met this person where? Okay." Well, because but then like at the end of this, I'm feeling like super emotional and super excited. I feel inspired, and I just also feel like really related to in this connection kind of way. So I am so happy that you came on here and that I got to meet you in this random ass fated connection that happened.
Yes, I'm so glad I got to meet you too. This has been it's been amazing, and the fact that you guys are being so sweet and nice about the book and anything, it inflates my head now, but it's also it touches my soul very much, because that's all I want from this book is just to make someone feel something.
Yeah, and it will. I mean, we've
already done that. We haven't even read it.
So everyone will love, all of your fans and our fans will love this interview. I'm so happy. So yes, thank you all for watching. Please, I will put in the descriptions all of do you like Haley or Haley Grace?
So technically I go by Haley Grace, but as long as you call me something nice, I'll respond.
Fair. That's accurate.
Because I wanted to call you Haley Grace since your mom calls you that. So I was like, Haley, whatever.
But like, that just sounds really grand.
Authory.
Also like really grand. Haley Grace.
Yeah, like Yeah, like Suzanne Collins, Haley Grace. Like it sounds, even though it's not your whole name,
Very
like it sounds very authory.
Yes.
So yeah, I will put all your description, like your TikTok, your YouTube, Instagram,
Put all your socials,
all the social media in there, and obviously go and follow us. Follow us on, we have Discord. You can come to our Discord if you want, where we talk about books and men.
We do have a special role for authors.
We do.
Perfect.
So please follow our Discord. Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all the favorites. And then please rate and review the podcast. It really does help us a lot. And so the last thing I was going to say for our last little 3 factoids that we got before we end. Thank you, by the way. I'm going to take this out, but thank you for letting us like do this part. So the last things for terrain.org. Yes, we love these bags. The 3 facts we have for this time, they're like the versatile bags, they're sustainable, functional, and make them for adventurers. That's the whole point of these bags.
Haven't actually held one in my hands. Like, they seem like they can be thrown off a cliff and still survive. Don't throw it off the cliff, though.
It's like, please don't do that, but... And then it's obviously for active lifestyles, appealing to travelers who want high quality, but also eco-friendly.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's really good about these bags.
Yes.
It's almost like I'm pitching it to you somehow as well.
That's perfect.
For me, I'm a board member of Nature's Negotiators. So we're all eco, all friendly. Love it. Hear more.
Oh, we love.
Perfect.
And so then, of course, like last but not least, I mean, by getting this bag, you're also like supporting Cambodian artisans, people that are actually getting paid decent wages to make these bags by hand.
Mm-hmm.
And they contribute to the overall global sustainability and like honestly some community empowerment there. So yeah, please buy these bags and use our promo code for a 15% off discount at TFBW podcast.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Buy at terrain.org.
Yes, correct.
And that is TORRAIN.
Yeah, play on words, terrain.
Terrain instead of terrain.
You just got it. Yeah. She had to explain it to me.
It's
Makes total sense.
But I mean, thank you again for being so relatable and being somebody that like, again, that I just met on a random occurrence, but follow you more. And, you know, honestly, sequel, maybe I want to see more of your writing, and I hope you go. I mean, you already seem very successful in the Instagram and TikTok world. Like,
follow on talk now. I haven't met yet.
And it's like, I'm glad that there's people out like you making content, because maybe it's just my maybe critical eye sometimes. There are some people making content out there not necessarily for, I don't want to say the right reasons, but you know, just like trying to get famous or trying to, and if that's how you want to do it, that's fine. But it's like, it's nice to see somebody else doing it for the love and passion of doing it
and wanting to make a difference
more than getting a view count.
Yeah. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
You're an inspiration. You're going to be an inspiration to our audience too. And like, again, all of the success to you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank y'all.
She's going to go and her mom is going to be like, oh, did you get a big head after that interview?
Yeah, we need to like put that down a little. I have to tell y'all something really funny. So my mom, when she saw who your guys' sponsor was, when she saw, because she's dyslexic, she just like barely read it. Like she was like, oh yeah, I know what that is. And I was like, oh, what is it? And she goes, I think it's like Trojan, like the condoms. That's what I thought it was this whole time.
You know, sustainable.
When you said bags, I was like, oh.
So Trojan, if you want to sponsor us, I just love how, wouldn't it be fucking hilarious if the 2 virgins were sponsored by Trojan?
Like, hey,
I'm a virgin too.
You're a virgin too? Holla! That's why okay, so what the fuck? We're neurodivergent, we like fantasy romance, and we're virgins.
We're virgins.
The intro to the podcast.
Just click that up, put that at the beginning of each episode.
No, that's the fucking t-shirt right there. That's the please sponsor us condoms.
Specifically, please sponsor us Trojan condoms.
I think what's more funny about that is your mom had no reaction to that whatsoever. Oh yeah, condoms, yeah, go them.
No adult romance. She was like, sweet.
It's brilliant.
You don't know how to use one, but like, go for it.
Oh,
I need to meet this woman.
Oh my god. Oh, thank you for that. That was fucking fantastic.
That's amazing.
But of course, yes. Well, then thank you to Haley Grace, and we'll see you guys all in the next episode where we're talking about chapters 56 to the end of 59 of A Court of Silver Flames.
Yes.
We'll have to talk about those books like another time as well. But yes, so that will be our next episode. So thank you guys all, and we'll see you guys all in the next episode. Mm-hmm. Bye guys.
Bye.
Bye.